feel depressed by the people who we find out are depressed. We start to feel depressed when we see everybody else smiling and we think, there's something wrong with me. There's something uniquely cursed about me. In reality, a lot of people who are smiling are feeling depressed. In reality, some people who are feeling happy pretend to be depressed because we get some kind of social clout for that sometimes. Sometimes people just don't know who they are or what they're feeling, and they're still trying to figure that out. Now, if you had a friend who had a party and they didn't invite you, could they have fun at their party without you? Yeah. You have lots of friends around you. And so that doesn't necessarily mean anything bad if they forget to invite you, because they can still have fun without you. We might feel like we wish we were there, but I don't know. It seems like it's far worse when you have a friend who doesn't invite you to the sadness that they're encountering. Because you can have a party with lots of friends, but there's only a very small number of people you let into that sadness. And if you're not in that little circle of people who get invited into it, it can make you feel like you're not as close as you thought that you were. Yeah. Yeah. There are other values, by the way, also in talking about it. I was talking last period about music, and I was saying that depression and talking about your depression is like a concert t-shirt. You meet a person who, here's a good example. Some of you, I'm sure, are fans of System of a Down. Yes. So I was friends with them before they became like System of a Down, back when they were just like System of a Down. I was in a band, and we used to play in the same clubs and everything. They are incredibly nice guys, man. And you look at people who you sit there and go, I'm glad they made it, just because of their attitude and everything. Those are guys I sit there and go, I'm glad you made it. Really super nice guys. And after they were signed, they weren't like huge just yet, but they were definitely on their way up there. And I remember that summer I was over in Paris, and I saw these two kids, like 12, 13 years old or so, wearing oversized System of a Down t-shirts. And I remember thinking, like, that's really sick, man. We're a long way from Los Angeles in every way when you're in Paris, geographically, culturally, linguistically, everything. But these two kids who were, I was probably like, whatever it was at the time, like 19 or so, these two kids who were that far away from me, I was a bit older than them, but I knew that we had that one thing in common. So if I walked up to them, or if I had to talk to them, how would I start off? Would I walk up there and say, hi guys? No, probably not. I'd probably walk up and point out their t-shirt and say, oh, System of a Down. They'd be like, yeah. In other words, that's an immediate connection. I don't even have to knock on that door. That door is already open when you see somebody who has a similar music taste to you. And that's one of the beauties of music generally. Like some of you, I don't know if any of you guys are musicians, like I know you are, but maybe like you're like playing in bands and stuff like that. Or maybe you're going to be a musician. But one of the things about being a musician is you start playing an instrument, or you start, especially if you're a singer, if you're a lyricist, you start writing stuff because, just either to deal with some immense boredom, or because you really have something in you that has to come out, or you're dealing with something tragic in your life or something challenging. In other words, a lot of musicians begin this way because they're responding to some difficulty in their life. Not always. It's one of the really challenging parts of being in 2025. I was talking with one of my students. I may have mentioned it to you guys before. You guys ever heard the band Blues Traveler? Blues Traveler, yeah. The singer of Blues Traveler is this really ugly, kind of nerdy, overweight guy, wears like fishing jackets and shit. They were this huge band back in the 90s. Sold tens of millions of records. That guy, the singer of that band, had no friends when he was growing up in high school. So what that meant was that rather than going out to parties on Fridays and Saturday nights, he was never invited to them. So what did he do? He sat in his room and he listened to music. And he liked the blues. So he got some harmonicas and he practiced his harmonica and playing his guitar every Friday night. When everybody else was hanging out with friends, going to sporting events, he didn't have any of that. He'd go home and sit and listen to music and play along to music. Eventually, that skill, that love for music, connected him to other people who had similar backgrounds to him. He's sitting in his room thinking, I'm the only one. Because if he wasn't the only one, he'd have friends who he'd hang out with or whatever. But by sitting there thinking, I'm the only one, he pours himself into some creative outlet. Now, if he grew up in 2025, what is he doing? He's probably online. He's probably playing video games in his mom's basement, covered in Cheeto dust. And he never develops that skill of playing the harmonica, playing the guitar, becoming a singer. He probably never forms the band because back then you didn't have all those options. You only had, a couple things available to you. Watch TV. He didn't really care for TV. Play music. Love music. He didn't have as many distractions as we have today. He didn't have as much entertainment available to him as we have today. And so he's able to pour himself into that. And because of that, he then forms the band Blues Traveler. He gets the chance to tour the world, something he never would have done otherwise. He makes tens of millions of dollars, sells tens of millions of copies of records, and becomes world famous. For a short time, but for a time still. But the real value of it's not the fame probably, it's not the money, it's that he's sitting in his room thinking, I'm the only one. Nobody feels the way that I feel. No one feels the same way I feel. And then maybe one day he's wearing, a Jane's Addiction t-shirt. If you don't know who Jane's Addiction is, you should go find Jane's Addiction. Jane's Addiction, maybe the second or third greatest band to ever perform after the Smiths. So he wears a Jane's Addiction t-shirt. And some of you will look at Jane's Addiction and go, holy shit, you'll see the cover artwork and you'll be like, I don't know about this. Listen to it, man, give it a chance. But he'll wear a Jane's Addiction t-shirt and he'll be, getting fries at Wendy's or something. And there'll be a guy behind the counter who says, Jane's Addiction, huh? Yeah. You know Jane's Addiction? Oh yeah, I love Jane's Addiction. Jane's Addiction is your favorite band's favorite band, by the way. They started Lollapalooza. And then they start talking. And because of that, oh yeah, I started playing guitar because, you play guitar? Yeah. Oh man, me too. Hey, let me get your number, man. We should get together and, listen to Jane's Addiction together sometime or jam. Okay. And this is the seeds. And all of a sudden you're like, he's walking out there, eating his fries, thinking, I'm not so alone. I've just doubled my peer group from himself to somebody else. And now you've got one other person, and that's the formation of a tribe. And then, of course, he says, yeah, I remember this one guy in my, in my chemistry class one time, and, he played drums. I wonder if he's still playing. Let me ask him. Then you hit him up. He's playing in 2 or 3 different bands, but then you bring him in, so now he's your drummer. And then you find a bass player not too dissimilarly, and all of a sudden now you go from just being this one guy sitting in your room, not thinking about much of the future, but man, you love music. And you're by yourself to now you have a tribe. There's 4 of you. And now you're thinking, wow, maybe we have some good songs. You know what? I would never have the guts to go perform by myself, but you know what? I've got these 3 other people with me. Let's go perform. And then your first show probably doesn't go very well. And you're bombed. You're terrible. But you have a couple friends there. And so they're like, oh, that was great, even though you know it wasn't. But you really like the feeling anyway because you see what it is. You don't try it once, fail, and go, never mind, man. No, because it isn't about the failure. It's about the music. Because it's about that friendship, that bond that you formed with people who have similar taste. So then you go and you perform again and again, and suddenly now you've got people showing up to your shows who you don't know. You look out the crowd and you're like, oh, I don't know these people. Like some of your friends are still coming, but these are now people who you don't know, complete strangers. And then eventually, some of them maybe even after a few shows are singing along with some of your songs. And now your tribe has grown from 4 to 8 to 32 to 100. Then someone gets wind of it who works at a record company and says, hey, I heard about these guys. And they listen to your stuff, they offer you a record deal, and all of a sudden you go from 1 to 4 to, again, 100. And then that 100 now, for some reason, only like 6 months later, because someone's playing you on a radio station, it now grows to thousands and tens of thousands. And then you're sitting on stage, and literally sitting on stage, because he would sit when he performed. And he'd look out the crowd and go, huh, and silly me. I thought I was alone. There's 5,000 people, there's 10,000 people out here now. You're playing at a festival, 100,000 people out there, and you realize that was silly of me to think I was the only one. Do I really think I'm that unique? I could be the only one in the world? It just means you haven't found the other ones just yet. And then you'll see people in the audience wearing t-shirts from your band. One of them goes back to school on Monday. And then there's someone in a chemistry class who looks over and sees you wearing the Blues Traveler t-shirt. And you're like, Blues Traveler, yeah. Oh, you like them, yeah. Oh man, I never hear anybody at the school listening to them. I thought I was the only one. Hey, we should get together. You play guitar? Oh, I sing. We should get together sometime. And then all these bands form off of that. When you feel like you're the only one, you feel alienated. You feel isolated, because if you feel alienated, you might isolate yourself. Again, alienation is a sense of feeling that you don't belong. Isolation is when you kind of do it to yourself. You might feel pessimistic about your future, just like Prufrock, where you're thinking, well, I'm the only one who's like this, or there's something uniquely weird or something uniquely strange about me. And so therefore, I can't possibly do any better. Besides, I don't really have any skills anyway, a sense of inadequacy. And then it becomes difficult when, I'm sure a lot of you struggle with this now, where people are asking you, so, you graduate next month, then what? What you gonna do after that? And you're like, I don't know. And maybe you just go, I don't know, college, maybe? I don't know. And maybe you'll go to college. Maybe you'll have to take chemistry. Maybe you'll be sitting in a room with somebody who's wearing a Jane's Addiction t-shirt and go, I remember Scanlon mentioning them. And I did listen to them. And they are great, just like the Smiths. I wonder if this person wants to start a band. I don't know. But one of the things that you definitely get from talking to people is finding out that you are not so alone. You might be very unique in that there might not be very many of you, but none of us is so original and unique that we're the only ones. There's none of us who are so uniquely cursed that we're the only ones to experience the things that we're feeling right now, or to experience the things that we're experiencing right now. What it is, a lot of times, is finding your tribe. Finding your tribe of people. They don't have to have many, 3, 4, 5. Start a band, you'll have 1 million. Bless you. Bless you. But it's just finding that tribe so that you don't feel so alone. Because yeah, we don't really feel depressed by the people who we find out are depressed. We start to feel depressed when we see everybody else smiling and we think, there's something wrong with me. There's something uniquely cursed about me. In reality, a lot of people who are smiling are feeling depressed. In reality, some people who are feeling happy pretend to be depressed because we get some kind of social clout for that sometimes. Sometimes people just don't know who they are or what they're feeling, and they're still trying to figure that out. And so the sooner you figure it out, the sooner you're authentic. The sooner you find the rest of your tribe, and then you kind of, travel accordingly. But a big part of it is being willing to be vulnerable, to be willing to be known. And of course, all of that entails becoming strong enough to absorb it in case things don't go the way you expect them to or want them to. And so, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Don't tell me you're going to miss a stamp today. All right. Happy Tuesday.